I get distracted way too easily. What's going on, you guys? So, you guys see a lot of the build side of this, but what you don't see is I have wasted and spent days and days and days just brainstorming things, trying to think of ways to make stuff work that honestly isn't really good to record, not that great for content, but I figured I would take you guys along kind of like this little journey that I go through when I'm doing stuff like this and kind of show how I can get distracted and sidetracked on stuff. So I'm working on a couple things in the back of the car right now, and within like the last 2 hours I've jumped around from trying to figure out how to do one thing to another to another to another. So let me show you guys what I'm trying to figure out right now. So we first started back here on the car. You can see I got a blue tape outline going there, just with some masking tape. Kind of lining up the quarter panel, and I started doing that because, well, I'm getting over fenders for the car. Hopefully I'll have them next week, and this is the line that I'm going to be cutting out on the car. So I kind of put a tape line on there, trying to figure out, you know, like, okay, where am I going to have to cut it? We're going to have overlay to attach it. How do I want to do it? Do I want to put Zeus fasteners, maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Do like 6 Zeus fasteners on it, make it easy to come on and off. And then as I was doing that, that led me to the next thing I need to figure out. Taillights. Once I cut these quarter panels off, there is going to be nothing left to hold the taillight in place, because the taillight is all part of that rear quarter panel. So going into that, now we know, all right, we're cutting the quarters off. We need to make taillight mounts. So how are we going to do the taillight mounts? You know, we got to figure out order of operations here. Do we build the rear crash bar first and then cut the quarters off? Do we cut the quarters off, mount the new ones, mount new taillight brackets, get the bumper tied up, build a crash bar? You know, we got to kind of go through a process, brainstorm it, and figure out what makes the most sense, what's the easiest order of operations to do that, what'll make everything flow good, what'll make it line up the best. So for example, we're working on trying to figure out the quarters and taillights right now. So what I came up with for now is that we already have a bracket under here. So essentially we have this whole section that the taillight bolts to. It's got 2 bolts here, another one over here, and it's got this brace in the center. What I'm thinking about doing is putting 2 rib nuts in here, 2 rib nuts into the rear tube chassis there, and then building a bracket to connect both of them, just like that. So this intersection will be an intersection here between the chassis and the taillight, will be a replaceable bolt-on part. Because right now we know this taillight is right where it needs to be. Everything is already lined up. So if we prep this and build a bracket here, after we cut the quarter off, we can go ahead, section out this piece of the taillight mount, and then that'll bolt right onto the bracket that we already made, so we know the taillight will be going right in the exact spot it needs to go, and that'll help us with lining up the rear quarter panels and all that. So we're probably going to do that first, and then once we have our quarter panel taillight mounted up, mounting the bumpers, simple enough. You just kind of hang that with masking tape and then build some brackets off of that. But you know, just kind of something I was thinking about, and you know, trying to show you guys a little bit of orders of operations I go through when I'm doing stuff like this. And then of course, while I'm back here, I get distracted by things like, oh, I still need to make mount brackets for my fuel pump system here, so I need to come up with a little mount for the fuel pump. Once that's in place, that'll actually hold this filter right where it needs to go to. So one pump right, or one bracket right here will actually hold that stuff and line it up. Just going through like, okay, some of this wiring needs to be cleaned up here and there. You know, how am I gonna do the bash bar mounts? and basically just going through the entire car, and you know, it's just one sidetrack after another. And then I'm going through the fuel system here, doing that, and then it's like, okay, now I need to put an inline pump or an inline filter in front of the pump somewhere. So where am I going to put that? Luckily, I already found a spot for that, but it's just one of those things, you know. You get sidetracked when you're doing stuff, and you know, you get pulled away from things you're already working on. But you know, it's not easy, and I don't know if you can really see it. Turn this light on. So that's kind of where I'm mounting the secondary fuel pump, up there in the engine bay. Pretty easy to get to. I'll probably put some heat shielding on it or something. Then I still need to do hood pins. I need to gut that hood. The trunk needs to be modified still. I want to cut out some nice vents in it. I was looking at doing NACA ducting for the rear radiator, possibly incorporating that into the quarter panels. It's just, the wheels start turning up here and I start jumping around from thing to thing to thing. And by the end of the day, I have 100 new ideas and nothing's gotten done. So, which is part of the cause of why this thing is not done yet. But I'll tell you what, in the end, I think it'll all be worth it, because the car's coming along just as I wanted it to. Everything actually looks really good. This is fun to get into. Dash isn't in the car, obviously, but you know, it's coming along. Finally making good progress. It looks the way I want it to look. It's being built the way I want it to be built. And I'm pretty happy with how everything's turning out. But that's going to be it for this one. Just thought I'd give you a little quick video about how I get distracted brainstorming on shit like this. And like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you're new, follow the build along, and until the next one, I'll catch you guys later.